To me, Jesus is just a man that's been deified over history with the Bible, given supernatural, characteristics. But he could have been just a man just like you, anywhere just like this, just talking about what he thinks, what he thinks is right. But what is right? There is some validity. You can't prove religion.
All right. So before we get too far into this video, that is Cliff Connectley, and he is street preaching at a college campus to all these college students. And this particular atheist student just stood up and said quite a good point. So we're going to listen to their conversation. We're going to hear what Cliff has to say, and I will also be giving you my thoughts as the video goes on. Let's go.
It's all myth. It's myth. You can't prove religion. You can't prove it. Prove it to me that Jesus existed. Prove to me that these...
Sure, no problem. I'll prove to you Jesus if you first of all prove to me Napoleon. I'll prove to you Jesus if you first prove to me George Washington. I'll prove to you Jesus if you first prove to me George Washington Carver.
Don't prove the person's existence. I'm saying prove the ideas that the person talks about. Prove to me what there's a heaven that's up there. Prove to me that there's, that your God truly exists. Prove to me that these precepts of the Bible are truly what true revelation. Prove to me that these things are actually there. I'm an empiricist. Prove to me that they're there.
All right, I'll do that. If, first of all, you prove to me that your taste buds are telling you the truth when they tell you you're drinking sour milk.
The secondary ration, some things you can't prove, so then you fall upon faith.
Some things you can't prove. Sir, I'm sorry, I haven't communicated clearly. Sir, you can't prove a thing. To prove means to show it cannot be another way. You cannot prove a thing in life. You as a thinking human being don't base your life on proof. You base your life on evidence. What does the evidence point to? And you follow the evidence. To prove means to show. It cannot be another way. What can you prove in life? Prove to me we're having this conversation right now. You can't prove it. We might be dreaming. Someone might have dropped some drugs in our tea. But the evidence is we're having this conversation. That's why I'm hanging in there with you. That's why you're hanging in there with me.
All right, I have heard atheists say many times before this whole prove God or prove that what Jesus said was true, which, if you really think about it, does not make any sense at all. As Cliff points out, you really cannot prove anything. Like, prove to me that the entire life that you have just lived isn't just like your actual body in like a coma and you're just making this all up in your imagination, which, by the way, that actually happened allegedly, where a guy got into a accident while playing a soccer game and he lived like 10 years of his life in a dream. Like, he graduated college, he got a job, he found a girlfriend, he married her, he had children with her, and after all that, eventually he woke up laying on the grass of a soccer field to realize that the last 10 years of his life were not real. So if someone can live like an entire life inside of their head, which I have not found any evidence of this not being true, how can then you say, prove to me that heaven exists? It's like, you just simply cannot. Instead, a better question to ask would be, can you show me the evidence that heaven is real? Like, that's what really matters, like in a court, they don't look for the proof, they look for the evidence. See what I mean? The reason why courts say evidence instead of proof is because, again, proof means it cannot be another way. But every single time a jury makes a verdict, there is a chance that they are wrong, which means there is another way. Maybe the guy that they send to prison didn't actually do it. He was just framed really well. Maybe the guy that they crucified back in 30 or 33 AD for spreading lies and blaspheming, maybe he just so was telling the truth. Screw it, I'm leaving it in. But again, that's where evidence comes in. You can't prove it, but there sure is a lot of evidence, right? Now, if you want to know some more of this evidence for, the existence of God, I'll have a video linked up above somewhere, and I go a lot more in depth about this topic, the evidences for the existence of God. So check that video out if you would like, but with that being said, let's continue and we'll see where this conversation goes.
Evidence. Okay, so the evidence is God exists. The evidence is The order and the design of the cosmos point to an intelligent mind. Moral absolutes point to some moral giver, lawgiver. Life comes from life. Never once have I ever seen life come from non-life. An atheist is someone who says, oh yeah, at some point, somewhere, at one time, in La La Land, life came from non-life. And I'm saying, all of my experience shows me life comes from life. Never once have I seen life come from non-life. Fourth piece of evidence, free will. If there is no God, you're just a hunk of biochemical reactions. That's all I am. You're not free. You're determined by your biochemical reactions. So am I. I'm sorry. I judge myself at night. I say, you know, Cliff, when you spoke to that student, that was pretty rude. When you spoke to that student, boy, you displayed a lot of patience, man. Tomorrow do that again and don't do that. I judge myself. I critique myself. I'm free. I don't have to do what I do. Well, if I'm free, it means there's more to me than just my biochemical makeup. There's a soul, a personality, an I that goes beyond the biochemical. I have a free will. Well, the free will can only exist if there's some type of God who creates me biochemically, but also gives me a will that's not totally dependent upon my biochemical reactions. That's why I believe God exists. Now, why do I believe Jesus is reliable? Because the historical evidence of the way he lived, what he taught, how he died, how he rose from the dead, points to his credibility. If you live like Jesus lived, if you teach what he taught, if you died the way he died, loving and forgiving your enemies, and if 3 days later you rise from the dead, sir, I will listen very closely to everything you have to say, because the evidence is you're trustworthy. So that's why I believe in Jesus. Does that make any sense?
Slightly, yes. But still, you must admit that a lot of religious beliefs and stuff fall upon the ideas of faith, and that there's some things you can answer. And so that it sort of directs itself towards secondary rationalization. That's all religion is to me. Is that what you can explain by empirical evidence, you go to faith.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that's where he was going to go, but he went there. This is a very, very common argument. Actually, so common that it has its own name. The God of the Gaps. The idea of the God of the Gaps is what he just explained. What I cannot explain, what I don't understand, I just say God and leave it at that. When that is so far from the truth, it's crazy. Now, yes, some cultures have done this in the past. For example, like the Aztecs, they sacrificed people in order to like reverse droughts and stuff like that because they didn't understand weather. But to relate this to Christianity, it could not be further from the truth. There was a Christian priest in the medieval times named Thomas Aquinas, and he quite literally modernized science, turning it into what it is today. And his whole philosophy was, if I want to understand God better, then I first need to understand his creation better. When he didn't understand something, he didn't just say, oh, I don't understand, so we'll just say God and sweep it under the rug. No, his whole philosophy was, I already know this. I already know that God created it, but I want to know how it works, right? Now, his whole philosophy and his actions of, I want to understand God's creation better, that basically made everyone else want to do the same thing, and this literally started something called medieval scholasticism. Now, I know that seems like a tangent, but my point in saying this is that early Christianity is almost the exact opposite of the God of the Gaps. So the whole God of the Gaps argument might work with other religions, but with Christianity, it doesn't really work at all. But anyways, that's what I have to say. Let's see what Cliff has to say.
Sir, if you get a postdoc degree in chemistry, do you know everything there is to know about chemistry?
I'm sure you don't. No,
Thank you. Does anybody know everything about any topic? No. Nobody has exhaustive knowledge in any area. And if I have communicated to you in the slightest that I know everything there is about God, I apologize. I have radically miscommunicated. Instead, what I've tried to communicate is, I'm a beggar who has found where living bread is in a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. And I've come to tell fellow beggars where they too can find bread. And the best answer I give often is, I do not know. You're right, sir. There are a lot of mysteries about God, a lot of unanswered questions. You bet.
Okay, everyone take notes right now. Take notes, because this is fantastic phrasing. Now, I watch a lot of videos of street preachers because that's what I make videos about, and a lot of these people that I see, these Christians, now, again, this isn't everyone, but many of the Christians that I see that do street preaching, stuff like this, it seems to me like they have this mindset of, oh, I know Jesus and you don't. You know, I'm saved, you're not. Convert right now. And it's like, yeah, but I mean, you could do a lot better of a job. You know, come off a lot more inviting, I guess. So this is precisely why I love Cliff's phrasing here. He's not coming out here saying, oh, I'm exercising the authority of God, you know, I know Jesus and you don't, or anything like that. What he's saying is, he's saying, no, I'm a sinner. You know, I'm no better than you. I'm no smarter than you. I'm not holier than you or anything like that. No, he's saying, I'm a beggar. I'm a beggar. You know what I mean? Like, I am absolutely dead in my sin. But, you know, I just so happen to know where, you know, there's this guy and he's able to give me bread to sustain me, and he's able to help me with my sin. You know what I mean? You know, other beggars, come join me. That's what he's saying. Now, just to put it a little bit more literally and not so metaphorically, we all need Jesus. You know, including me, including you, including everyone on earth. We all need Jesus. Now, since I have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, you know, Cliff does as well, wouldn't it be selfish of us to not want to share? You know what I mean? Like, life with Jesus is just so much better. It's so much more fulfilling. It's so much more meaningful. And it would be incredibly selfish to not share that love with everyone else. See what I mean? And this is exactly why Cliff does this. This is why he goes out and preaches to these college students for the past 30 years. That's why I make these YouTube videos, is just because we're both trying to win souls. We're trying to, you know, preach the truth of God. And hopefully there's just that one person watching this video, or one person in the crowd here, that just gets slapped in the face by the Holy Spirit, you know, metaphorically, of course, but and they get saved. Now, I believe that Cliff does a fantastic job of doing this. He's very effective in you know, preaching truth and getting his point out there effectively, but he doesn't come off as overbearing. And I hope that my words and, you know, my actions convey the same thing, hopefully. I mean, I haven't been doing this for 30 years, but you know what I mean. But with that, guys, I've given you my thoughts. That's the end of this video, and now I would love to hear your thoughts. Please leave them down below in the comments. And also, if you really did enjoy this video, please consider subscribing, so that way you do not miss a single future upload from me. But with that, again, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one, hopefully. Peace.